Hi, thanks for watching. Okay, I thought I wasn't going to make any more videos today, and I'm actually pretty busy with work, but I have to make one more video because I'm going to talk about this stuff about prosecuting Donald Trump. Okay, and this whole politics stuff of the left and the right, and how the United States is right now in politics. Okay, political situation of the United States. Um, First of all, let me start by saying, okay, there's probably nobody in the world who hates Donald Trump more than I do. Okay, I think he's a disgusting, terrible symbol. Okay, he may have some occasional good ideas. I'm not going to say he has no good ideas. That would be stupid. But his just the way he overemphasizes his cruelty, his insensitivity, his boorishness, just the lack of class, just the rudeness and stuff. I just think you can have the same noble ideas. If he has a couple noble ideas, you can have the same noble ideas and be a gentleman. You know what I'm saying? You can be a leader, somebody who leads by example, who shows people what it means to be a good person. He doesn't give a crap about being a good person. He just knows he's right about a couple key things, and he's just a jerk. I mean, and that's part of it, that combination of being a jerk, but also being right about some things. And he's wrong about a lot of things too, but he is right about a lot of things. He has some good instincts, but he's a jerk, and he there's something kind of toxic and sort of, I'm sorry, unhealthy about the guy, and he sort of celebrates it, and so you're not going to find somebody who hates Donald Trump more than I do. But the problem I have is that now, finally, at this point, we've gotten to now we're in the 20s. We're in 2020 something, whatever, and we finally gotten to the point in our country where we're just routinely bringing criminal charges against a politician. Okay, you see this with the other guy, the George Santos. And granted, I mean, George Santos, that guy is a psychopath. Okay, if you want to see a psychopath, I'm sorry, George Santos, that guy's a psychopath. Okay, but a psychopath like a lot of psychopaths. I mean, there's a lot of razzle dazzle business people, kind of little small time, con men, whatever. Um, I mean, that's just the con artist. I mean, that's part of the culture. That's part of our culture. So it's like he's not. I mean, he's not like from another planet. But George Santos, yeah, he's a psychopath. I mean, he's a jerk. And I don't like George Santos. He's kind of a he's pretty close to being mentally ill. But this idea that I don't know, now we're resorting to the mechanism of what they do in Brazil and Peru, and they do it they do it in Brazil and Peru under the direction of the CIA. Probably, the CIA's probably got its hands in all that crap. you know, um, or at least people like, I forget who that guy is, Elliot Abrams, I think. He's been doing that bullshit, messing with Central America and South America since back when he was working with Reagan. You know, so the United States has a lot to do with how they use criminal prosecution as a political tool in South America. But now we're doing it in the United States. I mean, I'm sorry, it's just like, with Trump, we already had a spectacle, we already had a circus, and now we're putting the circus on steroids. And I think, how do I feel about that? Look, um, I get annoyed by right wing politics because they oversimplify the world. They have an oversimplified vision of the world, and in the end, they're just pro business. And they're just beholden to their lobbyists, and they have, basically it's just the gun lobby and whatever other lobbies, and their loyalties and stuff. So in the end, it's just all cynical. So whatever they pretend, is their big philosophy of life of being anti woke and all that. That's just the dressing. What they're really all about is just the cynical representation of their lobbyists, and is, in the end, I'm afraid that the political parties have become so big that if you become a politician, you're so loyal to the party, okay, that you now stop being representative of your actual constituents because you're actually representing the party. So I think what's happened in the United States is now the parties have gotten so powerful that if you become a politician, you're more beholden to the party than you are to your constituents. And so we've broken the representation of the people that is what American politics was designed for in its inception. When the United States was created, the idea was that, no taxation without representation, that citizens, will be represented by their politicians, and now we're to a point where citizens are not represented by their politicians. Okay, a politician does not represent the people; he represents the party, and the party is the interpretation of the people. So basically we got these two clown parties, the Republican and Democrat, and they're just garbage parties. I mean, they're just so toxic. Democratic Party is just such. I mean, I'm sorry. I'm not even right wing, but I'm disgusted by the Democrat. I'm not going to call them left wing, and also I don't really like the left wing either, but the true left wing. But the Democratic Party is just a gigantic political party with huge interests, and now they're getting into all this geopolitical crap where they think they can go start wars and manage warfare, in Ukraine, or they did it before in the Obama administration with all their pretending to know how to manipulate, geopolitics in Syria or Libya. And now they're pretending to manipulate geopolitics in Ukraine, which is disgusting. I mean, it's really disgusting. So I mean, the political parties to me are scary. They're scary because now when you vote for somebody, they're not representing you; they're representing their party. Okay, so we don't have representation. We as people, we don't have representation. Okay, the parties have gotten too big. What's the solution to that? I have no idea. But now we see the parties are so big and so full of themselves, and they're so safe, and they feel so untouchable. They can go practically flirt with World War III. They can go play a bunch of games in the Ukraine and kill hundreds of thousands of young people. That's so much blood. That is so much blood. Okay. And when they want to, they can go ahead and start a big circus in the United States of, bringing criminal charges against a former president. Because why? I mean, it's like it's like a third world scenario. We're becoming Brazil. It's like, it's ridiculous. And so, nobody could hate Donald Trump more than I do. I can't stand the guy, but I can't believe that we have, eroded ourselves as a public to the point where we're letting the party take over. You think the people of the United States honestly care that much? I'm sure there's a percentage of people that want to see Trump in jail, a percentage, but I think if you were to really run a referendum on it, I think most people would think, we don't want to be that kind of country. Yeah, we hate the guy, but I don't think that what the parties are doing is really representing the people, and I don't think the people really want to descend into a situation where we become like another Peru or Brazil, in the way we do our politics. And the other thing too, I want to say, Democrats have a problem is that they're not good. They're not winners. Okay. Democrats are not winners. They just don't have the edge to win. And so what do? They find scheming little cheaty ways of getting an advantage because they can't directly win. Okay. And, in the last election, the games we played with like the mail-in voting and, gaming it, and, these mega campaigns to get all these like people that would never register to vote, just getting tons and tons of people that would never actually register to vote, and getting them sort of artificially registered just to get more numbers, just inflating the numbers with all these people that have no interest in voting and no inclination. I mean, I'm not saying that's fraud, but I'm saying the Democrats, they can't just have a clean, simple victory, because they're not good enough. They're not compelling enough. And right now we have a divided country, and no party really has a tremendous advantage over the other because they're both clown parties, and they're too clownish to get like a mega majority to really win an election. So they resort to games, and this stuff with Trump is just another game. You think the people that are prosecuting Trump are prosecuting him just because of justice, just because justice requires? They're doing it. There is a political motive to it, And I think now we're setting the precedent where if you're a dangerous enough political figure, instead of just beating you, the Democrats are not good enough to just beat somebody. Okay, and also too, like, I can't believe we talk seriously about how Joe Biden is we can even talk about how he's even a possible candidate. The guy's like 80 years old. He's going to be like well into his 80s. This is almost like it's insanity. It's insanity. I mean, I'm sorry. Like, and Trump, the same for Trump. He's too old too. I mean, I'm sorry. The whole thing is just crazy. But the bottom line is, Democrats can't come up with one person who's a reasonable candidate, who isn't like on his deathbed, who isn't like well into their 80s. We can't come up with one person. The best people we can come up with are Pete Buttigieg or what, Kamala Harris. I mean, I'm like, that's the best we can do out of 300 million people in this country. It's insane. It's absolutely insane. This is insane. There's not anybody even remotely close to being a viable candidate on the Democratic side. Probably, I think the sanest person I've seen on the Republican side is probably, honestly, not this Chris Christie or DeSantis. I mean, those guys are all demagogues and they're just bozos. They're just they're just public politicians. But probably the only person I've seen who seems to have even remotely like the compos mentis and the gravity and the gentlemanliness, and the just the quality to actually be a president who's even remotely, and I don't even agree with his politics really, but would be, I think, Rand Paul. And I'm not even, I don't even like the guy really. I mean, but I'm saying I can respect him as a person. That he has some maturity, he has the acumen, the demeanor, the just all these things. But he's not sexy enough in this world, because now we're living in the world of circus politics, where you got to be a bozo, you got to be some kind of, it just has to, you have to be, I don't know. It's like that's where we're at, and I'm sorry, it's not really Trump's fault. And it's not Biden's fault. It's our fault. Okay. We are a people, our taste buds, the only thing we can taste is ketchup and barbecue sauce. It's like, just get a ton of hot pepper and a bunch of sugar and, whatever. It's like, we can't taste regular food. Everything is just ketchup and barbecue sauce. It's just, we're going down the tubes. I mean, I'm sorry, but it's a reflection of us, because in another country, you could appreciate Trump, but there would be much better candidates, and we as a people would only accept better people. I'm sorry, even Bernie Sanders. I'm sorry, Bernie Sanders only seems reasonable in comparison to these bozos, but Bernie Sanders too is he's got really some pretty idealistic. He's maybe a little too idealistic to be in the real world, and can we do better? I mean, I'm sorry. I mean, yeah, Bernie Sanders, relatively speaking, because he's so smart, he's a smart guy, but he's really ideological and he's really idealistic. And, to be a real executive of a major country and not be a joke, and not just be beholden to your political party. And also, like, if you're too idealistic, you're not going to get anything run through Congress. Congress won't take you seriously. I mean, to really broker the kind of administration and governance, that where you can really get things done, you have to be pretty realistic, and you have to be able to get along with people, and you have to be able to, get down from your ideals, and just deal with real world, issues, So, I don't know. I mean, like, when's the last time we've had like a real reasonable professional kind of president? I mean, professional, Ronald Reagan. I mean, I'm sorry, the guy's an actor. He operated just through a cabinet. The guy himself was just an actor. The guy himself, he and his wife were going to astrologists. Everything Reagan did was through a cabinet. So, like, when's the last time we had a competent person who was by himself a realistic? I don't even like Bill Clinton as a person, but he was probably close to that. I mean, an effective technician who could actually, a professionally operate, the executive. Maybe to some extent Obama, but I think Obama's a little overrated. I think he didn't have that much experience as a lawyer, and he only had maybe just a little experience as a senator. So he really wasn't even that experienced, to be quite honest. He was just more of a good at putting on the show, I think, and he had enough smarts that he could kind of fake it, but he didn't really have the seasoning. Compare that to like George H.W. Bush, like George H.W. Bush, not W, but H.W. That guy had a long pedigree, a long experience of working in government, working as a representative, working in the CIA. I mean, you can say what you want about the CIA, but the guy was seasoned. He knew how to do administration. He knew, and he had like a degree, economics degree from Princeton. I mean, that's George H.W. Bush. He went to Princeton, and so so there have been a couple of what I would call professional class, real gentlemen, so to speak. You could disagree with their politics, but they at least were, they were actually worthy of the office. But nowadays, my God, I mean, Arnold Schwarzenegger, governor of California, Donald Trump, president of the United States, it's like a joke. It's almost crazy town. And now Biden is, that guy is a joke. He's a joke. I mean, why are we even talking about this guy? He's an absolute joke. He's just too old. He, even when he was younger, he just had bad judgment all the time. He would lie. He would just take the wrong side on issues. He's just very insensitive, very beholden to corporate power, not a lot of backbone. So it's like, we don't have to get into all this like Hunter Biden crap just by himself, just on his own merits. We know that Joe Biden's just kind of a weak, kind of a spineless, and just doesn't have a lot of integrity. So it's like, when are we going to get real professional people, to actually competent, professional, experienced people? And then you get guys like Beto O'Rourke, on the left. He seems cool, but if he can't be like senator or governor in Texas, he needs to get a real job and actually be doing administrative shit, because otherwise he's just going to be a professional talker. Even if he could be the mayor of El Paso, or whatever, but do something, but don't just be just a professional politician. Get some experience, because Beto O'Rourke, now he's letting like years go by where he's not becoming like a seasoned administrator, and we don't just want personalities. I mean, I agree that Beto O'Rourke potentially could be a president of the United States, but he's got to spend time being a mayor, a governor, maybe working in like an industry, you know what I mean? Because at some point you're just a personality, and that's terrible. But apparently, the political parties help us with that, because they like that. They like that kind of, I don't know. They have no, there's nobody in these political parties who are like respectable, quality people who actually have like real professional experience and who are actually sane. I'm sorry, Hillary Clinton is not sane. Hillary Clinton's very smart. Hillary Clinton's well educated, but she's doesn't have quality. She's insane. Hillary Clinton doesn't have judgment. She's a very smart, very educated person who just doesn't have the noble characteristics to be a leader. I would say Elizabeth Warren is much, much more sane and healthy. But Elizabeth Warren also has, I mean, you have to really be noble. You have to really be not just noble, but you have to have the kind of charisma where people are going to relate to you and you're going to be able to lead a country. And I think even Elizabeth Warren is probably Elizabeth Warren is like one of the really better options on the Democrat side. But, I don't know that she's tested at the presidential level, because she would have to command the armed forces. And, you really have to be a special person. And I don't think we really appreciate, how special you have to be a president. But anyway, so, I see a big problem with the parties have gotten too big, too powerful. They're not really representing the people. The people no longer really have a voice in the kind of people who become candidates, and we don't have real representation. We're now at a point where we're like we were prior to the American Revolution in the 18th century, where the people of this country do not really have representation. Not really. Okay. And I think the parties are part of that, but I think actually, whose fault it is? It's us, the people too. You can't have a country where we're just depending on our representatives to take care of the country. The people have to take care of the country. And you can't take care of the country as people if we ourselves don't become healthy. Okay. We ourselves should be, the vanguard standard for the whole world of quality. Why are we letting Japanese people show us what quality is? Why are we letting Chinese people show us what quality is? Chinese people, by the time they're 18 years old, they know calculus. They could ace what for us would be like the SAT, they're very well prepared. They're very diligent. Why are we just sitting, playing video games and eating fast food? Why can't we as a people get our quality way as good as we can get it? If we're not smart enough to ace the SAT, if we're not smart enough to like go on a university track, well then to learn a trade, to really get good at something, to have a skill, whether it's driving a truck or gardening or whatever, become an expert at something, and really become quality people. Why don't we set it up to where to get out of high school, you finish your 12 years of high school, but then maybe 2 more years of high school, maybe 13th and 14th grade, before you go to college, before you go into your profession, where you have serious real world training, where you get really trained to the real world, and maybe have to be exposed to things in the real world so that we can become really quality people, because if we as a people don't take it upon ourselves to have the highest quality in who we are as a people, then how can we expect the political parties to take us seriously as a public? And that's the sad thing. See, I think the political parties, they don't take us seriously as a public. We're just numbers to them. We're just cattle. you know I mean, you think the Democratic Party really cares about black people? It's bullshit. They don't really care about black people. What they do is they use black people to get votes, and they'll go harvest votes and harvest voter registration from all these black people that are just sitting in their houses, who probably honestly don't even feel motivated, and they'll orchestrate all these things just to jack up their votes, but they don't really care about black people. Who really cares about black people? And I get so sick of people who talk about, oh, I'm not racist, I love black people. And those people, how much time do they actually spend with black people? Or if they spend time with black people, it's only black people who are like very, very like bourgeois, very kind of like in their social class. These people that talk about how much they like black people, how much time do they really spend in scary, dangerous neighborhoods actually dealing with the real black people, who really are, living, the nightmare, let's say. I mean, I'm sorry, but I don't want to hear anybody tell me about how much they care about black people. Really, don't ever tell anybody how much you care about black people. The only thing you can do, if you really are even interested, really, supposedly, is really actually maybe, if you really want to, why don't you just get involved in the world of black people, like truly, and not talk about it so much, so I don't know. I mean, I get so tired of the racial discourse, because if you really care about people, you're not going to just talk about it. You're going to actually be with those people. And I'm just tired of these bourgeois, these like, just upper middle class people just pontificating about how much they care about a world that they don't even touch. I mean, the world of the homeless. I'm sorry, these people that talk about theoretically how the homeless people have all these rights, and they aren't actually living amongst the homeless people who've got diseases that even in Nigeria, you'd probably be hard to come across some of the diseases, some of the, like, I'm sure that among the homeless people, they've got tuberculosis and maybe even up to like cholera, and maybe because they're in contact with like rodents and stuff, like we probably can't even imagine, the sanitary conditions homeless people are living. And we're just talking about abstractly about their rights. Out of your fucking mind. People that are actually homeless are living in inhuman, subhuman conditions, and a real country wouldn't allow that. So we're our brains are shot. And no, we cannot wait for the parties to get better, and we can't say, oh, we should just have more parties. No, I think we as a people need to get better so that they can't get away with that shit. If we as a public were a much more sophisticated, much more mature public, these parties couldn't get away with what they get away with. And so what's happening right now with Trump, to me, this stuff of indicting Trump, I mean, look, I hate Trump more than anybody, but this is just a circus, and it's very politically motivated. And it just shows that the Democrats they're willing to go start wars. They're willing to risk, geopolitical stability, involving hundreds of thousands of young people spilling their blood and dying. Okay. Their indifference, their callousness to that. You talk to any pontificating Democrat that's pontificating about justifying the war in Ukraine, you don't see an ounce of burden for the bloodshed of all the hundreds of thousands of young people that have to die in Ukraine. You don't see it because it's callous, because they're calculating, dweeby, nerdy, wonky psychopaths. Well, they're not clinical psychopaths, but they're nerdy, wonky, callous. And that's not quality. That's bullshit. And those are people that are just disgusting people. And we have to be better as a public so that a party can't get away with that crap. And so instead of asking for the parties to get better, where's a better candidate? You know what? The country is going to crap. We're being served the worst menu you could imagine. Biden. What's Biden going to do if he wins? What are we going to have? Kamala Harris, who's almost very, very likely to take over as president if Biden becomes incapacitated. What kind of world are we proposing? But the salvation is not going to come from hoping that they produce better candidates. I'm sorry, things are getting bad. Things are getting chaotic, but we can't wait for politics to improve. We can't wait for a better menu just to come into our laps. We have to accept that things are getting bad, and that the only way out of this is that we ourselves have to really just say, you know what, we're going to get better. We as a people are going to get better, and then the parties and the politicians won't be able to get away with the kind of circus crap they're doing, and also risking geopolitical safety. And what's going on in Ukraine is very dangerous. Very, very dangerous and very damaging. So this is like world-class problems. But if we really want to get on the path to getting better, I think we as a people just have to say, you know what, we are going to become good people. We're going to become high quality people. No more beer, no more pizza. We got to get better as a people, and we just have to just be better. And once we're better, politicians and parties, they won't be able to get away with the crap they're getting away with. So that's my opinion about this whole circus of Trump getting indicted. And it's my opinion, and it relates to cluster B because what's happened, the world is becoming cluster B before our eyes. So anyway, just my opinion. And yeah, I'm not afraid to talk about politics. I don't think politics is a sensitive subject. I never understood when people say, oh, I can't talk about. Yeah, you can talk about politics. Yeah, you can. Because it's important. Politics is important, and we don't want to stifle the conversation around politics, because we all should be in that conversation. It's valuable, but we should not be too much in the conversation if we're not willing to improve ourselves as people. That gives us the right to talk politics. So that's my opinion. Thanks for watching.